So when I left Christianity, I realized that the environment I was raised in was extremely privileged for people who were heterosexual, married to the opposite gender, usually within their own ethnicity, who had kids. I've talked numerous times about people and events where you couldn't hold positions of junior or senior leadership unless you were heterosexual, married, with kids. So for me, realizing through atheism that children are not a requirement, they're not necessary, which means I don't have to have them if it's not my passion, something that would make me happy, and if I can't provide a decent, great experience for kids, I just shouldn't have them. And I realized that children are a choice. Being child-free is a choice that's valid, acceptable, and should be celebrated. And not celebrated because it's something that's happening. It should be celebrated because it's a marvelous way to live. And I'm not saying that having kids and having a nuclear, heterosexual, traditional family is wrong. I'm just saying that we need to celebrate child-free people who live alone or maybe have a partner and they just go a different route, as much as we celebrate the heterosexual propaganda of just the way society expects everyone to live, regardless if they're happy or not. And this is such a terrible thing, because I don't think we're ever going to celebrate everyone equally. Which means that only celebrating married heterosexual unions as marvelous and awesome is going to harm women, because if that's the only way they're going to be seen in society as valuable, meaningful, and worthy of respect and value, what happens if they're in a marriage that doesn't give them those things? Where they're in an abusive relationship, they're more likely to stay because of the social privilege that they get. And our culture is so uncomfortable with being child-free. We shame them. We shame them for not wanting to be parents. And in my opinion, it's more responsible to recognize you don't want to be a parent than to become a parent and realize, I don't want this. Because now there's not much you can do about it. So, not everyone is made or compatible with having kids. Some people's careers, they just can't have the family people expect because they're gone 90% of the day. And certain careers do double your chances of divorce because of how strenuous and AWOL it requires people to be. So, being child-free is an amazing choice. I don't think it's ever going to be as celebrated and validated as having kids, though. And I've learned that a lot of people that have kids don't enjoy it. They believed a lie that everyone has to be married and have kids in order to be decent or have an image of respectability. But if that's what you want to do with your life, it makes you happy and you have the financial and emotional capability of being a decent parent, fine. Nobody's saying you shouldn't. I do believe that more parents shouldn't be parents than are actually parents. I mean, if you were supposed to have a kid because you had the parts, we wouldn't have to have CPS. So, I mean, if you read the Bible, how many people in the Bible are shamed, depressed, and unhappy because they don't have kids? I Hannah, Elizabeth, even Leah, they were shamed for being of childbearing age or above childbearing age, and they could not get pregnant, or they hadn't been pregnant in their lives. How damaging to these women. Like, their social value didn't exist anymore because they didn't or couldn't have kids. This is the damaging part. Even though the New Testament says that it's better for people not to get married, I don't know of a single church that treats single people as having selected a better choice than being married. Not ever attended that church. If that church existed, I'd want to go to it once, just to say I've been inside a church that actually follows the Bible. Because that I gotta see. Christianity does not follow the Bible, because the Bible says that being single is better than being married. So, I don't know of a church that treats single people better than married people, even though that's what the Apostle Paul wrote about. So, do Christians even read the Bible outside Sunday service? Because they're not living it. It also says to feed the hungry and treat strangers with respect. Yeah, they're not feeding the hungry, and they agree with zip-tying undocumented immigrants. Children are a choice. They're not a requirement. And when women can't get pregnant, or a couple, 1 out of 3 couples have fertility issues, imagine the social stigma and religious judgment and shame that's heaped on them for something they can't control, fix, and they really shouldn't have to, because there's nothing wrong with them. So, I just don't understand why people would do this. Why would people create this kind of environment? And it's always about white man's privilege. That is why, for millennia, we've blamed women for the gender of a baby when it's 100% the man's job to decide the gender. And it's not an isolated incident. It's like never an isolated incident. Our society has always punished women for not having the ability
Head to your
get
pickup
pregnant.
at Walmart Wasilla number 2074.
And it's like, what is going on? It's frustrating. And women should not feel the drive and the push to have family or to have kids. If that's something that's your passion, fine. Just don't make it your entire identity. Have your own friends. Have your career. If you're not into a career, find a way that you can enjoy life without having to 100% have your identity. It's like, it's ridiculous. And that's something we're all going to have to deal with sometime in our life. And there's something insidious about the way people treat child-free women and child-free couples. I mean, being a single woman these days, religious people look at you like you're a social pariah. I mean, I told you, I went to 7 churches, 3 of the biggest denominations in America. None of them had anything like no classes, no events, nothing for anyone over 22 and under 40 that weren't married. And It's like, are you kidding? They don't know what to do with unmarried people under the age of 40. They don't know what to do with people who aren't married over 40 either. But once you hit 45 and you're a woman and you haven't been married, or you're divorced, you have no kids, they don't know what to do with you. And it's a toxic dynamic. I don't care what people say. Until our society celebrates singlehood and child-free lives in the same consistency and with the highest praise like they do for married people, like, what is going on? I don't care how people live. Let people live their lives. Honestly, I kind of have a special kind of respect for people that don't adhere to heteronormality, or if you are, heterosexual, being your own unique, not a stereotype heterosexual. I mean, you can be straight, just don't be boring about it. Be special, be unique. I do not understand why having children is seen as the pinnacle of womanhood. And you look into these denominations of Christianity, the biggest denominations on the planet, they view women and womanhood as only about being a wife and a mother. There's nothing else about womanhood that doesn't include being a wife and a mother. And do a simple YouTube search on what fundamentalist Christians see womanhood as. If you're not a wife and a mother, you're nothing. They think you're an unnatural, rebellious, in complete rebellion against God for choosing not to squeeze something out of a certain place. I plan to go my entire life without having children. And if somehow I got pregnant, I would have an abortion because I don't want kids. I would use birth control so I wouldn't have to have an abortion. But not everyone can afford it or is even taught about safe sex. That's usually because of Republican policies. But the secular society isn't much better than the religious society. Men don't know what to do with women in their 30s and 40s who are child-free and single. They can't handle it. They see women as a threat. We're not a threat. We're just living a different type of womanhood. Imagine describing a man as being a man because he's married and having kids. You can be a man without being married and having kids, but a woman can't be a woman without having kids and being married. Like, what in the world is going on with that? Women aren't important, and womanhood is such a complex thing. I don't think we can explain what a woman is, because there's more colors in the universe. Like, there's more types of womanhood than there are colors in the universe. And that's the way I like it. One size does not fit all. Everyone has their unique, special way of controlling their sexuality, their whatever gender they've selected, what their orientation is. They're living the life the way they want to live it. And I don't understand what everyone's problem is. And because fundamentalist Christians can't fathom or understand that women want different things, and not every woman fantasizes about having a wedding in a family and being a subservient partner, they just laugh it off and say it's not possible. But it is possible. I've been 4B, single, child-free for 31 years. I never want to have kids. I don't really like kids. And that's a perfectly valid opinion. I'm not really into dogs or cats either. But you never hear anyone call me a slur for not wanting to have a dog come out of me. That would be weird if that actually happened. But it never fails. Men never get harassed for being single at 40. But God forbid a woman's not pushing something out of her rectum or her vagina. And trust me, the people who don't see women as anything more than birthing machines are probably the first people to think babies come out of rectums. Because when and where you have a limited view on womanhood, sex ed and anatomy classes aren't on the top list for education. Because it's not going to happen. And it's like, how can this get any worse? Yeah. So, someone's not a woman because they can have a natural baby come out of them. They're a woman because that's what they identify as. And if they never use their ovaries, their vagina for anything for childbirth or sex, that still doesn't make them any less of a woman. And if you think that a woman not performing her natural, made-up, biblical role isn't womanhood, you need to stay as far away from women as possible. Because you're a threat. A very bad threat to women. But have kids, don't have them. Just make sure you can afford them. And for people who were never taught safe sex or how to prevent pregnancy and who can't afford kids, I'm not judging you. I'm judging the people in charge that make it so you and your kids aren't educated.